Mike Gehring back here with you for the second secret that you wish your second thing in the top 10 list of things that you wish your parents had told you about when you find out what they are, or whatever it is that you want to call this this little setup here. Next thing we're going to talk about is you don't know what power is, so you don't have any. A lot of people have misconceptions about power. And if we straighten that out, if we straighten our thinking out, then it gives us the opportunity to have an accurate perception of how things work, so that we can solve problems effectively. Power is not, you hear a lot of people say money is power, or knowledge is power, or relationships give you power. There's powerful relationships. That man has powerful relationships. None of those things are power. Power, in its real definition, is the amount of energy consumed per unit of time. It's a physics definition. It means that work is being done. And without a proper perception of what power is, you will pursue the wrong things. You will make mistakes. You will go after those things that you think are power that actually are not power. And you see this a lot of time in business. If you've been around for any length of time, if you're an older person, part of the older generation, you'll know that you'll remember Amway. Amway got a bad reputation in the 60s and 70s because people would buy up a whole bunch of soap and fill their garage with it and then try to sell it to all their friends. And they thought they were going to make incredible wealth that way, but it didn't happen. And so Amway got a bad reputation because people make the same mistakes in business over and over again because they don't understand where power comes from. And to give you an example, Walmart is a powerful organization, but their power doesn't come from their distribution network, and their power doesn't come from their trucking system, and their power doesn't come from their stores everywhere, and the power doesn't come from the real estate that they have. The power comes from the fact that they have the ability to move products. Okay, they have an enormous potential energy stored up in all of those things that we just talked about, but that potential energy translates into power when they actually sell a product. And that's important because power is a sign that work has been done or is being done. Power signifies work. And that concept, if you don't understand it, gets you into situations like the old Amway distributors, like a guy I just talked to last week who wants to sell fitness products online, and he wants to spend $10,000 to buy these fitness products so that he has the power to sell them. But he doesn't have the power to sell them because he only wants to put $500 or $1,000 into his marketing efforts. And this is where people go wrong in business. Business is a system of marketing, and I'll do it backwards so it works for you guys. Marketing, and then sales, and then jobs or work, and then accounting, and then follow-up to manage your reputation. So you do the marketing to get the sales, you get the sales to get the jobs, you do the jobs to get paid, you get paid, and then you have to manage your money. That's where the accounting comes in. And then once you do all that stuff, you have to do the follow-up to manage your reputation so that your business has a good reputation. All right, so it goes marketing, sales, jobs, accounting, follow-up. Marketing, sales, jobs, accounting, follow-up. And when you get these things out of order, whatever stage you're at in all of those things, if you get them out of order because you want the power to do the work, okay, the center of the business is doing the jobs, or if you're in a service business, or selling the product if you're in a product business, where people want to start is there in the center, and you don't start there in the center. If you spend all your money in the center, then you have lost the ability to do the marketing and the sales that allows you to sell the product. So if you don't understand what power is, then you'll make bad business decisions. Okay, and you'll make bad life decisions. You want the power to maybe having a great spouse affords you. Want the power to I'm trying to translate it into a personal experience, but okay, you're single, you're tired of going to the clubs, and so you want to have a family, you want to have a life, you want to have relationships that are meaningful and last. So you want to have that center item, okay? But you can only catch what you can attract. So you have to be able to do marketing. And once you attract them, you have to persuade them to marry you. That's the sales. And then, so if you spend all your pursuit in planning the wedding or doing things that are going to get the job done, then you haven't attracted anybody, and you haven't sold them on marrying you. So you're premature. You should spend your efforts over here in the marketing and the sales, and then worry about that. Now, obviously, all along you should worry about being the kind of person that somebody would want to marry, but that's intrinsic in your product or your service and business. So anyway, the point is, when you don't understand what power is, if you think it's money, if you think it's knowledge, if you think it's relationships, then you'll pursue those things and never get any actual work done. Whereas if you get the power structure right, if you understand that the power comes from actually doing something and getting work done and accomplishing the transaction in a product business, then you'll spend your money focusing on where you're at in the transaction. And in business, that is primarily marketing, and then sales, and then your product or service. So before my potential client who wants to sell fitness products online, there are tons of people selling fitness products online, and yes, there's a lot of money to be made by people who actually have the power to sell the product. If you don't have the power to sell the product, it doesn't matter what product you have. Okay, if you spend $500 on a website and nobody comes to it, then you didn't do anything, and so you didn't actually have any power, and no work was being done, and then you're sitting on $10,000 worth of product. You're basically an Amway distributor. That's just, I'm sorry, but that's where you're at. So if you take that $10,000 that you want to invest in the business and create the system, okay, do the marketing, do the sales, sell somebody else's product for a while, get the traffic, focus on where you're at in the process in the right order to get the power to sell the product. The power doesn't come from having the product. The power comes from having the system, the business system that accomplishes all those 5 things: marketing, sales, product or service, and then accounting and follow-up to manage your reputation. So the reason that that's so important is because people want to have, and they think that having is the end-all be-all. It's not. Doing the work, being productive, moving the products, selling the product, selling the service, being able to do the job is not the job itself. Okay? I have a tree business. We take down trees in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Two Guys Tree Service, great little business. We started off this business by doing things in the right order. We created the system. We put up a website. We got traffic to the website. And then once we got that traffic, then we sold the people on our ability to do the product or service. We started off with a Stihl 192T. It's a small steel chainsaw. It had a 16-inch bar and a borrowed pickup truck. We didn't put all of our investment into being able to do the job. We didn't go out and buy a lift truck and a chipper and a shredder and a stump grinder and all that. At first, we focused on being able to get the customers. And then we focused on being able to sell the customers. And then we focused on being able to do the jobs. And yes, you have to be able to do the jobs. Yes, you have to have a product to sell. But being able to do the jobs and having the product to sell is not the hard part. You look at Walmart and you think the hard part is putting up that huge infrastructure, putting up that huge system, building a huge store that houses hundreds of thousands of products. That's not the hard part. Getting people to come into your store is the hard part. And if you don't believe that, just go out and build a big ass Walmart building in the middle of a desert and nobody will show up. And then all your power was wasted because there's nobody around for 250 miles, So when you understand what power is, then you can make proper decisions, proper business decisions, proper relationship decisions, proper personal decisions to acquire the power that you're looking for that will produce the results that you want. But if you don't understand what power is, if you think power comes from money, or power comes from knowledge, or power comes from relationships, then you're going to pursue those things and still not accomplish anything. And there are hundreds of thousands of people on this planet doing exactly that every single day, and it does nothing for anybody. The reason I don't have a lot of notes on this one, and so I'm interested as you are to find out where this is going. The reason that this is such a big deal is because if you don't make quality decisions in business, you go out of business. There's a reason that 90% of businesses fail in the first 2 years, and 90% of those fail in the first 5, because people. You hear all the time, well, the number one reason businesses fail is because they're undercapitalized. No, they're undercapitalized because as soon as you go into business, you go down to the bank and open up a bank account, and the first thing they want to sell you is a $100 box of checks and rubber stamps and all that stuff to help you do the accounting side of things, and that's not where your money should be focused. The reason that people make mistakes in business and in the businesses that are undercapitalized is because they don't focus their capital on the process and where they're at in the process. They don't use their capital to acquire the power to sell the product or service. They use their capital to get the ability to do the product or service instead of getting the ability to get the jobs or get the customers to sell the product or service to. Okay? And that's backwards. And we'll go into that in the next one. Maybe 2. You do things backwards. Two away from this. Because when you do things backwards, you're solving the wrong problem at the wrong time. You're spinning your wheels, and when you spin your wheels, you don't get anywhere. So if you're going into business, and if you're trying to sell a product or service, then you focus your efforts not on the product or service. Lots of people have products and services to sell and can't sell them. Matter of fact, chances are good that you could acquire somebody else's product or service for a very discounted cost because they have the ability to do the job and don't have the ability to sell the job to a paying customer. Okay? Marketing is one of the most quintessential elements in business, and a good understanding of marketing allows you to be successful in any kind of business because every business requires marketing. Every business requires sales, and that's why sales is the number one highest paying unskilled profession, because you don't have to have a college degree to go into sales, but everybody needs something sold, whether it's a product or a service. In business, the whole economic system runs off of these things, and the people that have the skills to market a product or to sell a product are the highest paid people in the industry. And if you understand that, then you understand that as a business owner, your number one job, your highest level job, your best paying job is not to do the job. It's to do the sales and the marketing that gets you the jobs, and you can do that for anybody. You can make money anywhere, and that's the way business works. So if you own a beauty salon and you have people to do hair, or you do hair and nails, the number one thing that you need to do is create the system that does the marketing, that does the sales, so that you have the people to do hair and nails for. If you sell pet supplies, then the number one thing that you need to do is to have the system that does the marketing, that does the sales, so that you have people to sell the pet supplies to. The reason that businesses are undercapitalized is because they put their money into a building, they put their money into rent, they put their money into all these kinds of things. And we've all heard about these garage startups where people didn't have an office, and they didn't have the product, and they didn't have, all this power, and yet they created a successful business because they focused on where they were at in the sales process. They created the system, they did the marketing, they did the sales, so that they had the product or service to sell, and then they did the accounting and the follow-up. So quintessential in any business is managing where you're at in the process, and you can only do that if you understand what real power is. Power is a sign that work is being done. Power is the expenditure of energy. At the very best, knowledge and money and relationships are potential energy that gets expended when something happens, when a transaction occurs. And if you can use knowledge and use money and use relationships to create that transaction, then you have power. But knowledge and money and relationships inherently are not power. And I went over time by about 5 minutes. I apologize for that. In the next video, we're going to talk about you don't know what value is, so you don't have anything of value. There's intrinsic and extrinsic value, perceived and real value, and a good understanding of that is going to help you in both your business and your personal life. We'll talk about that on the next video. So again, my name is Mike Gehring, and I hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you get a lot out of it, and I'll see you on the next one.